Hello, everyone. My name is Cedric. We're here with Anime Gamer Zone, bringing you an exclusive interview with the one and only Joshua Seth. Mr. Seth, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to speak with us today.
You are very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Of course, yeah. So, for those of you that don't
Hello,
know,
internet people.
for those of you who don't know, Joshua Seth has been the voice actor of many different voices over the years, but I think there's one in particular that may be very close to many people's hearts. Mr. Seth, would you mind doing us the honors of introducing yourself a little bit?
I'm the voice of Tai, the leader of the Digimon. In Digimon the movie, Digimon the series, all six Digimon Tri movies, Digimon Last Evolution Kizuna, and the new, almost released, but they haven't given us a release date yet, Digimon the movies, which is the new dub.
All right,
So
awesome.
for 24 years, yeah, I've been the voice of Tai on Digimon.
So I guess for the first question I have for you is that when you were first taking on the role as Tai in Digimon, did you expect it to become such a countrywide phenomenon as it did when you were first starting out?
No, because anime was very new back then, and it was considered like second tier animation. It's sort of flipped now. Like anime is all the cutting edge stuff, and that's what you see on kids' backpacks and in the mall, and like anime has become wildly popular now. But it was very new in America at that time, and uh, it was really only because I was connected to the people at the production company, which was Saban, because of my work on Power Rangers, that I even got to audition for Digimon in the first place. And we didn't know where any of these things would go. We just felt lucky to be on Saturday mornings. You know, fast forward it like a season, and we're on after school Monday through Friday and Saturday mornings. And then the movie came, and that was all before social media and before streaming platforms. So then we still thought it was over, but because of streaming and because of the fan base on social media, and because now the Comic Cons and the fans interacting with people like me that go to them, uh, it just keeps growing and bringing in more generations of fans, and now it's become nostalgic, and people show their kids, and yeah, it's now 20 plus years later, bigger than it was when we first released it, I would say.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's definitely crazy, and I think people don't give localization companies like Saban and 4Kids from back in the day enough credit for the
It
globalization of
was
anime and like how it's contributed to. Because I think anyone that
it
you talk to, you like Pokemon, Digimon, that would be like their first experience with anime, and they've become, the
Yes,
fans they are now. So,
these were the gateway anime to everything that exists now. Like
mhm.
you wouldn't have Crunchyroll and anime on Netflix and these major platforms if it weren't for the ground that Digimon and Pokemon and Dragon Ball and Yu-Gi-Oh and these sorts of shows, even Sailor Moon, that all that stuff sort of broke the ground 20 years ago
Mhm.
for
All
what's
right.
going on today.
Yeah. For my next question, this is just from just my experience watching earlier anime, and then also I've seen some documentaries about voice acting as well for anime specifically. That do you ever feel like, because I know there was a big emphasis on like matching your lips or matching your words to the lips of the characters. Do you ever feel like that like held back your performance in any way, or was it something that you got used to over time? How do you feel about it?
I think both of those are kind of accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can only act within the spaces given to you, the allotted amount of time based on those lip flaps. It's very technical. It's maybe the hardest form of voice acting, honestly. It it requires you to be able to act in a very tiny sandbox,
Mm-hmm.
basically. Whereas, like when I'm doing original animation, like when I was working on the SpongeBob movie, for instance, everybody in the scene would be on separate mics with soundproofing foam between us, but we could see each other's reflections in the glass on the other side of which were like the producers, the director, the writers. So everybody's all collaborative. And because of the collaborative environment, we could improvise, make jokes, go off script. But when you're dubbing anime, it's one at a time. And because Ty is the main character, I would almost always, I think always actually, lay down my voice tracks first so that other people have something to respond to. But then I didn't give me anything to respond to. I'd have to imagine it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, for a number of reasons, it's very constraining. But the other thing you said is also true that you get used to it. And the only way to get better at this stuff is to do it. It makes it difficult for people with no experience to break in, because you have to have that sort of sixth sense about the timing. And now when I when I'm auditioning for something, or voicing something remotely, I have a home studio. I don't live in LA anymore. I live in Florida. But
Mhm.
because of the pandemic, everything went remote for a while. So now, luckily, I can do it again after a long break.
Mhm.
When when something comes up, I just say record the rehearsal, because 9 times out of 10 that'll be fine, because I've just done it so much. I have that innate feeling in my bones, about how this is going to progress in terms of the timing and the feel and everything. And that's not unique to me. That's anybody that's any good that's done it for a long period of time. So yeah, you do get used to it, but it does require a level of technical proficiency that goes beyond just making funny voices.
Yeah, I think people don't necessarily, especially within dubbing, give the voice actors enough credit for how difficult that job is because.
I mean,
So,
I get that. I get that, because some of it's bad, right? I get the dub versus sub. If the acting's bad, of course you want to you want to watch the sub. Uh, it's it's not always good, because if they paid more, they'd get better people, first of all, which they don't. That's why you see so many of us at Comic Cons, because our careers are really being supported by the fans, no matter
Mhm.
how successful the show is. That the pay is crap, honestly. But we do it because we love it. Like most of us are fans ourselves. My first anime I ever saw was Akira when I was in film school, back in the original theatrical release in the early 90s. And then the dub that everybody knows now is the Pioneer dub that came out in 2001, and which is now a meme. Leave me alone. That's my character. That's Tetsuo and Akira. Leave me alone. That was the first anime I ever saw, and I was a fan. That made me want to go into voice acting and do this sort of work myself. And then several years later, after I was already in LA with an agent and established and doing tie on Digimon, they asked me to voice the lead, or the co-lead, along with Johnny Young Bosch's character of Kaneda.
Mhm.
So yeah, most of us started because we're fans and because we love it. And becoming famous, that was never on my radar, nor was it possible back when I originally did that stuff. It only happened later because of social media, to all these voice actors, where we now have fan bases and go around to the conventions and things. But originally, it wasn't for the money, it wasn't for the fame. It was just because we love what we were doing.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people will also agree that all of the voice actors in the community are very valuable and important to us as well. So,
Not
you
all.
you did mention the
No,
Akira.
it's not. They're not everybody's good. Don't pretend. It's just like every other form of acting, or every other business. Not every plumber is going to be able to fix your pipe. Not every doctor is going to be able to cure your illness, and not every voice actor is going to do a good job. Not everybody. It's not an even playing field.
Mhm.
Uh, it takes talent, sure, but it also takes experience and working on your craft and training. And in my case, moving. I grew up in a small town in Ohio, and I made sacrifices to move to New York for training and to move to LA. I know people that are moving to Dallas right now because they're so committed that they want to work for Crunchyroll or the video game companies that are out there. So no, not everybody's valuable and talented and equal. It's just not. Like it requires a huge commitment
Mhm.
to do it. And so the people that make that commitment and persevere and actually succeed against all odds, those are the people that I say deserve those kinds of accolades. And like it's fine to be a hobbyist or to wish and to dream, but like I don't try to BS people. I run this monthly Zoom voice acting mastermind, and it's an outgrowth of my podcast, Voiceover Champions, which you should
Mhm.
all check out because I interview other voice actors, and I call BS on stuff all the time because it's nice. It's nice to hear truth. I think in this industry where everybody's uh, they're used to just kind of puffing up their egos and
Mhm.
like making announcements about the most minor of roles and things. Like one role does not a career make.
Mhm.
Like it, anything in the art, not just voice acting or acting in general, anything in the arts. If you want to be a painter, a potter, a poet, a musician, a writer, an act any of these things, like you got to know the truth, which is no matter how talented you are, like it really takes a commitment beyond anything that would be normal or reasonable in any other career. And so it's got to be driven by passion.
Mhm. I definitely agree. I think there's definitely a lot of truth to those statements made. You did mention
Thank you.
you did mention Akira earlier. Now, obviously, you talked about the "Leave Me Alone" meme, and you voiced that character in Akira. Was there any thoughts when you were just scrolling through TikTok and all of a sudden this character that you
Yeah.
voiced, like it's like, whoa, what's going on
The
here? You know?
the the first one I heard was the other version, the old version.
Mm-hmm.
And then people are tagging me in the comments. I'm like, actually, that one isn't mine. And then sometimes it's my version. There's
Mm-hmm.
two different versions. So if you go to my TikTok or my Instagram, I think I have it pinned on the top of the Instagram as well. You will see a video that went viral where I compared the
Mm-hmm.
two. I'm like, here's the old, I think it was a 1989 streamlined dub of Akira. Here's that scene there, and here's the 2001 Pioneer dub that is the only one that you can get on DVD and that most people know. Here's his performance, here's my performance, so that you know the difference and compare. But most of the comments are ridiculous because you can tell from the comments that most of those people commenting have never actually seen the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So they're judging the performance in a vacuum.
Right.
And they will often say about mine, why is me whimpering? Because the other guy is like screaming, leave me alone. And
Right.
mine is like, leave me alone. Right? Why am I whimpering like that? So for anybody that's wondered or that even knows the difference or goes to my TikTok or Instagram to see that clip and then comes back and notices, oh, these are very different. It's because of the context in the scene. In that scene, Tetsuo, the character that I voiced, his mind is being turned to mush right beforehand. And he's under, great stress, trauma, physical, mental, emotional agony. And then he says that line, and then his guts spill out all over the sidewalk, which is sort of like, it's not physically happening, it's happening in his mind. So that's why the different interpretations.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, from what I understand, in your voice acting career, you took like a small break between like 2006 until the Try movies, something like that.
That's like a decade, by the way. I don't know. That's small. Yes,
Well,
a decade. I took a
maybe
decade
in the
off.
grand scheme
Yeah.
of things, but
Yeah.
I was wondering when the Try movies were being developed and coming out, was it something that you were reached out for, or did you kind of have to go, hey, I'm still here, I can still do this,
Funny story about that. So I had been pretty public when I left. The strike that's going on now with the actors demanding residuals because they'll be on a hit show on, say, Netflix or some other streaming platform, and it'll be streamed billions of times, and they won't make a penny because there's no residuals for streaming, because the last time the contracts were written is before streaming was a thing, right? And that's why they need that. That's one of the reasons, that and AI are the main reasons, that protections against AI, that the strike is going on. Well, when I left voice acting all those many years ago in like 2007, somewhere around there, I had the same concern. I was protesting the same thing. Here I am voicing the main character on one of the top hit animated shows. Forget anime, just animated shows on television. I'm not getting a penny in residuals. And I can't lead a one-man strike. So I just left, and I was very public on every interview in print media, and it was before podcasts, but just saying, voice actors, like anime voice actors, should get residuals just like original voice actors. And there are people that were on like, what's one of the big anime movies that's been released in the theaters in recent years, like the Dragon Ball movie. There's people that voice that made a couple $100 for a huge, I'm talking a couple $100, no residuals, session fees, nothing. And for people that don't understand the industry and will ignorantly comment about this on Twitter, for instance, they'll say, well, it's up to you. You signed the contract. Yeah, if I don't sign the contract, there's 1,000 voice actors that would do it for free. Acting's not like, an office job. Like there are so many people that would give their right arm to just be in any of these shows, that the producers could find it for free if they were able to. It's only because of the union protections that there are any wages and working conditions for actors at all. And one of them that needs to be in place is the residuals. But if you don't know what residuals mean, it means like you get a fraction of a penny every time it's played. But it adds up. It means something. And it means that if you do a good job, or you're lucky enough to be on a hit show or movie, you get some payoff for that, because most of the work is the auditioning for which you don't get paid. Now, this is maybe a little inside baseball, but it's the reason that I left. I felt like abused by the contracts. I was working as much as humanly possible every day, and many times in the evenings on all these shows back in the early 2000s, because I was lucky enough to get successful beyond Digimon. It was on like 100 shows, and I was making more money part-time on the weekends as a magician than I was I was actually paying my bills as a magician. So I thought, screw you guys, I'm going to go on tour. And I sold my house in LA and I went on tour with my live mind reading and magic show. And I've been on tour ever since.
Yeah, I think I remember the one of the actresses for Orange Is the New Black, which is not animation, but she was showing
No,
her
but that's a big
residuals as well.
show.
Yeah, she was showing her residuals as well, and it's like pretty much pennies on the dollar, basically.
Nothing.
Like, very, very
nothing, and it's
insulting for like a show as big as that and how big it was.
Well,
phenomenal.
It's not viable to have acting as a career if you can't make a living at it, even when you are on a hit show. Mm-hmm. Because most are never lucky enough to be on a hit show. And there is an element of luck to it, and there's an element of perseverance, because you don't get lucky unless you stick around through all the lean years and all the auditioning and not getting it to get to that point. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's why you got to support that SAG-AFTRA strike, even though it's been going on for months and months and months now. But the writers got what they were going for, so yeah, that bodes well for
very
us.
Soon, I imagine and hope that we come to agreement on that. So that was 2006, 2007. Was there something specific about when the Try movies were coming out that?
That was your movie. Yeah. That was your question. Yeah. Yes, there was. My old friend Jeff Nimoy, director and co-writer of the dub for the original Digimon the movie that we did back in like 2001 ish. I think that's when it came out. Anyway, he had signed an NDA when he started voicing Tentomon for the first Digimon Try movie, which I think that was maybe 2016. And he posted about it, not thinking, oh, I signed an NDA, I'm not supposed to post. He just made an innocent mistake. Hey, I just came from a session recording for the new Digimon Try movies. Can't wait till you guys can see this. Something like that. Boom, all my inboxes on whatever it would have been back then, Facebook and Instagram, for instance, started blowing up with private messages. Hey, are you on this? Did they call you in to do this? Are you coming back as Try? I'm like, I don't know anything about this. And I'm not surprised nobody reached out to me, because I was so public about retiring from voice acting and why. And so I still had Jeff's number, and I just called him up. I'm like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, oh, don't tell anybody about that. Stop talking about it. I made a big mistake. I could get fired off the project. I've already deleted the tweet or whatever it was, my bad. And I'm like, okay, fine. But now the cat's out of the bag and I want to do this. So who cast you? And it's the same people we used to work with. So I still had their emails and numbers, and I emailed, and I'm like, hey guys, it would have been nice to be asked, like I'd of course come back for Try, but nobody asked me. And to his credit, the head of the studio called me on my cell, like the same day, and said, that's on me. We knew you'd retired and moved out of LA. I didn't think you'd be interested. I'm like, well, yeah, it's kind of my legacy character. So the deal we struck was, he's like, there's going to be a bunch of these movies. Turned out to be 6 of them. Why is it called Try if there were 6? I do not know. However, he goes, there's going to be a bunch of these movies and they all have to record in studio in LA. But if you, Joshua, are willing to fly yourself out to LA to record them, we will start over. They had cast somebody else's Ty. I don't know who it was, but they're like, we've done a couple sessions. We'll trash and we'll start over with you. I'm like, pinky promise, I'll be there for all of them. And that's what we did. I just flew myself out, got a hotel each time. Like every year would take a week and go out to LA, and I would record each of these Digimon Try movies. So thank you, Jeff Nimoy, for posting about something you weren't supposed to post about, because otherwise I would not have been in any of those, or Digimon Last Evolution Kizuna, which came out in 2020, which I think is the best of the bunch.
Yeah, I can't imagine in an alternate universe you're blindsided that these Digimon movies are going to come out and you're not in it at all, especially with being the main character. Yeah.
If you're out of sight, out of mind in this business, and I wasn't promoting myself as a voice actor on Facebook or on social media, and I wasn't going to any Comic-Cons, and I wasn't in LA. So, it's nobody's fault. I don't blame them for not thinking of me, but I'm sure glad it worked out.
Mm-hmm. So I understand that I remember you since the Try movies and Kazuno came out and you took a role on the redub of Prince of Tennis, you're going to cons more
Yep.
often. So are we
Yep.
seeing a return of Joshua Seth to the world of voice acting, or how is that status
I
going right now?
certainly hope so. I have a great little studio, home studio here with the same Neumann mic that I would have recorded on in studios in LA. As of about 6 months ago, I signed with Dean Pinero Talent, which is a fantastic agency for voice out in Los Angeles. And I've been doing auditions, mostly video game auditions, but some anime.
Mm-hmm.
I booked a couple things. I can't talk about those that aren't out yet, but it's like it's starting again. And I always loved voice acting. I really do. And it was a, sad for me to leave voice acting, but I felt I had to do it for career reasons and economic reasons. I couldn't keep doing it based on those contracts. Now that I can do it from home when I'm home around my schedule, like while I have two kids, 10 and 12, and while they're at school, I do my auditions or my recording from home. This is fantastic. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't doing it during the pandemic. I'm a little late to the party. I'm doing it now that things have opened back up, and are less of these types of gigs going on for remote because they want people to come into the studio now that you can go into the studio. So yeah, I kind of missed that golden moment of remote, but it's never going to go away entirely. And I've had some great auditions. Just I'm starting. I'm not exactly starting from scratch, but the current crop of casting directors, they don't know me. I'm not on their radar,
Mm-hmm.
but it's nice to have the opportunity. And with enough at bats, yeah, I'll start getting in them. Might be another year before you start seeing me on a bunch of projects. But fingers crossed, that's where things are heading. And I have to keep doing this because my 10-year-old daughter, Nikita, wants to be a voice actress herself, or a voice
Oh,
actor, I
okay.
suppose you say. And she's got an agent in LA now, and she's starting to get auditions. So, yeah, it's all moving in the right direction. This is a really nice and an unexpected final chapter here.
Yeah, well, it's very nice to hear that things will work out, and I'm certain that they will within that time span that you mentioned. I did want to backtrack a little bit because you did mention your career as a magician, and I looked
Yeah,
you up on your website a little bit.
yeah,
It looked like your specialty was like being a mentalist, which from what I could
yeah,
understand is like a mind reader. You've gotten awards
yeah.
from Hollywood Magic Castle, which is a very
Hmm.
exclusive club, thousands of shows. Can
Hmm.
can you explain? Can you try to explain to someone that doesn't know anything about magic, like how is that even something you get into? How do you develop that as a
Yeah,
skill?
yeah, yeah. So I had a double major in college. I was performing arts, of course, and psychology. And that's because both my parents were psychologists. So I had a background in psychology and a love of magic and an interest in magic and a love of performing. And back in college, I started to put this show together, which is basically mentalism's like magic of the mind. So instead of doing sleight of hand with like cards and coins and things, you're doing sleight of mind with reading body language and predicting outcomes. And it's not, I'm not really making predictions. I'm not like talking to dead people or whatever like a psychic, but what I'm doing is i am I'm setting things up in terms of language and staging and body language and other sorts of mostly psychological principles with some magic mixed in. I'm setting things up in such a way that it looks like real mind reading. And sometimes there's an intuitive quality to it, which I can't deny actually is. Like, are there tricks going on? Sure. Is real stuff also happening? Yeah, absolutely. And there's also like rapid mathematical calculations and memory techniques. And I tell people in the audience what I'm doing as I'm doing it for the most part, because I think that makes it even more amazing. Like, I wrote a book on mental focus and how that is really the key to peak performance in any profession, is the ability to focus your mind and be completely present and 100% attentive to whatever performance you're giving, conversation you're in, relationship you're in, experience that's occurring from the stage and with the audience, for instance. So it's not exactly a magic show. It's not psychic either. It's mentalism. It's propless magic of the mind that it's I just love doing the show. It's the most fun and very unique. There's not a lot of people around the world that do it because it's hard. Like, there are a lot of like math and memory and body language reading techniques and things that are all being employed subliminally. While I'm talking about other things, there's this whole secondary script that's going on inside my mind to make these effects happen. And it's, it's comedy too. It's funny. So I've done it in theaters and comedy clubs and corporate events and clubs, like all over the country, all over the world. I used to do it on Disney cruise ships and other lines as well, and got to travel the world, which is a nice little bonus there.
Mhm. I was gonna ask if there was something you could do for me across the internet here, but it sounds like a lot of it is like an in-person like experience, so I won't
You know
waste
what?
your time
I
on that.
probably could if I weren't about to run to the airport
Right. Okay.
right now
Yeah,
and
we
needing
don't want we
and
don't want to
needing
be
to
here for
wrap
20
this.
minutes trying to figure
Yes,
out what word
but
I'm thinking
yeah,
of.
but I'm at Comic Cons 2-3 weekends a month, and what I'm trying to do now that this is a regular schedule is get booked at comedy clubs or theaters in those areas the night before. So because they
Oh,
always
okay.
fly me in Friday, it doesn't start till Saturday.
Hmm.
So yeah, hopefully I'll be coming to a convention near you and be able to be at a comedy club or a theater on that Friday night, and then everybody can see me. Like, where are you based? What city? What area?
Hmm. So I know that you
You,
mentioned.
you, Cedric, the other entertainer. Where are you based?
Oh, I'm in California, Los Angeles, actually. So.
In LA.
Mhm.
Yeah, like I used to do the Haha Comedy Club in Burbank,
Oh, okay.
for
Yeah.
instance, and then Flappers. Barbara runs that. Yeah.
Mm, okay.
So
Okay.
like if I ever actually do a Comic Con in the LA area again, I'd just get booked into one of those comedy clubs, and boom, get
Hmm.
2 for 1.
Yeah, that would sound great. I know on your Instagram, and you talked about it a little bit earlier that there's going to be some new Digimon movies that are coming out. I couldn't find
Yes,
anything about
yes.
those being
It's
announced or anything like that. Could you shed some light on
so
those projects? Or
sure thing. Discotech, which has been doing a great job with re-releases of a lot of the anime that I was involved with, they put together a new dub of the old Digimon movie. Let me back this up. They've announced that the dub happened. They have not announced a release date. That's why you couldn't find it
oh,
yet.
okay, I see.
And over the summer, I and all the surviving original cast members from Digimon the movie, we all revoiced that movie the way it was supposed to be in the original Japanese. Remember when we did this in the early 2000s, the market for anime was very new and untested, and they were thinking in terms of cartoons for little kids. That's why there's so many like dad jokes and things in Digimon the movie, which I personally love. But I do get the gripe from hardcore fans that say, well, this was originally 3 mini movies and they weren't anything like this, what we did in Digimon the movie. Yeah, that is correct. If you look at those 3 original movies in the sub from the Japanese, they're very intense. The scripting is different. There's no voiceover from Kari. Those sorts of things. Those are all different.
Hmm.
So what we did was we took them, got a new scripts for all 3 mini movies, and redubbed them as they were originally meant to be seen, but in English. So the new Blu-ray DVD from Discotech, which hopefully will be out soon, will have those 3 mini movies in the sub, also with the new dub, which they're calling Digimon the Movies, and Digimon the movie, the original English dub that everybody knows and loves with the ska soundtrack and everything, but minus Angela Anaconda.
Okay.
Everything else will be there. Yeah, that's the new project.
Sure. Thank you for shedding some light on that. Looks like I just have a couple more questions before we wrap up here. The first one is before we close up, where can people find you? Either on social media, your next show. Where can people learn more about
Sure.
where about Joshua Seth's going to be?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on all social media. Just look up Joshua Seth or Joshua.Seth on Instagram, but I'm on Instagram, Facebook, the platform formerly known as Twitter, TikTok, and I put out funny videos from these Comic Cons like very, very regularly. So yeah, definitely follow me there. And if you are an aspiring voice actor yourself, check out my podcast, Voiceover Champions, because I've interviewed dozens of anime voice actors like myself very transparently about like, how did you get successful in your careers? What advice do you have? And we have a good time. And if you go to voiceoverchampions.com, you can get the links to where you can find that podcast, as well as information on my monthly voiceover mastermind, which is a Zoom group that I run where I answer questions and we do scene work and stuff on Zoom. I think there's like 4 spots left right now, not many. But anyway, if you're interested in that, send me a private message and I'll let you know if there's any room in it. And I like conducting these classes on Zoom because people get to sit in from anywhere. Everybody's at the sort of aspiring level, but it's a really good supportive group. And every month we have a different theme, like microphone technique or how to treat your room or different types of voiceovers that you can do because it's not all anime. Like one month we did commercials, another month we did video games, these kinds of things.
All right. Thank you for that. And then this last question, you can say no if you want, but this is a small personal request. I was looking through your voiceography, if you will, and I noticed one voice that many people may not think about, but it is a very important voice to many people from people my age. I saw that you did the Kids WB announcer voice.
Yeah.
Would you mind giving like a small soundbite of that just to relive some old memories?
Yeah, I did. Well, first I did Fox Kids, and then when that went away, Kids WB, and it was the same voice. It was like, next on Kids WB on an all new Jackie Chan adventures. What else was on the Batman coming up next, and stay tuned for an all new Pokemon. So in a way, I'm part of the Pokemon universe as well because that was on Fox Kids.
Yeah, I'm sure many
people...
or
Kids WB. I get it mixed up because it was the same voice.
Yeah, it's a very random role, but that's also a voice of many people's childhoods. I very much appreciate.
Oh, I had a blast doing that. Yeah, I got to promo all of the shows on the whole kids programming block for a few years there.
Yeah. All right, I think that's pretty much everything I got. So thank you for your time, Mr. Seth.
All right,
I had a great time.
Yeah, thanks for reaching out, and send me a link when it's up, and I will cross promote it and post it and stuff.